Federalism will be our credo.
What is it you're waiting for? Do you even know anymore?
These are people who work hard but no longer have a voice. I am your voice.
Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new live stream. Make sure you guys like the stream down below. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys are new here. And this is the yearly birthday stream. Technically it's not my birthday for a few more days, obviously, for those who are in the know. But still, this is the last stream I'll be able to do before my birthday because I'll be busy, I'll be traveling, etc. So this will be the annual birthday stream that we've done every year since, like 2020, 2021 on the channel. So I started this channel when I was 18 years old. I'm about to be 25. Times definitely change, and we have a lot to talk about tonight in terms of politics, in terms of what's been going on. You know, this channel's been around since the second half of the first Trump term. Now we're in the second Trump term. A lot of new developments that we're going to be getting to. So once again, guys, make sure we can get the stream to 100 likes before we get started. Make sure if you guys have any questions or dare I even say birthday donations for the stream, feel free to send them in via Super Chat. We have a goal set tonight for 50 Super Chats. We've already hit 7. Those are just blue and above Super Chats there. So hopefully we could hit the goal. We've already gotten 14% of the way there before we even started the stream, which is great news. But make sure you guys like up the stream. Make sure you guys subscribe. We're going to be getting into some of the trade deal stuff with the UK. Donald Trump, did he get it done? He got one done. Possibly. Could more fall like dominoes? We understand that's typically how these things go. It's good that he got one out of the way. On top of it, we're going to be talking about some of the liberal insanity. We're going to get to a little bit of 2026 because we talked about Georgia's Senate race on the last stream and why Republicans were very likely to pick it up. Now it's a little bit of a different ball game. It's not over. But there's a big shakeup that definitely is kind of a brutal blow. But then on the other hand, you have Democrats shooting themselves in the foot. So it's kind of a give and take with what we're seeing ahead of the midterms. But like I said, guys, make sure you guys like the stream down below. Let's get it to 100 likes before the face cam goes on. We're only at 68. We have 32 to go. So make sure you guys hit that like button. We've got 162 live viewers in chat. I know we can get there. I know we definitely can get there, and we're going to have a lot more people pouring in, I'm sure. Usually it seems like ever since YouTube redid their whole advertisement thing, it takes a while to get the view counts up because there's a lot of ads that they put on the beginning of these videos and live streams for one reason or another, but that's perfectly fine. But we'll get into that. We'll get into all of your super chats. We already have quite a bit of them already. I know I always say every stream, we're not going to have too much of an introduction and then we go on for 30, 40 minutes. So we'll see. I'll try to get it done as soon as we possibly can so we can get to all the super chats because I know we have a lot of them. But we will be talking about everything you guys have. There's a new pope, by the way. A lot of people have been talking about the new pope and certain things that he said. Now, it's the first American pope in history. But some of his takes on politics are not going to sit well with a lot of people. Just similarly to the last pope, except this one actually speaks English, which you understand how that's going to be used in one way or another. So that part's true. But we're at 83. Come on, guys. You guys got to get the stream up to 100. We're almost 6 minutes in. 6 minutes in here. We can get there. 16 away. We're 16 away. I don't know what exactly is taking so long for the view count's been pretty stagnant lately, but that's perfectly fine. But we're 12 away, so like up the stream, guys. Like up the stream. We'll get to all this and more. We're gonna get to all of it. Don't worry. It's gonna be a long stream. I know it's a late stream. We technically have this time slot just locked up, basically. It's the way it kind of seems because, if I went live a few hours earlier, we'd have the same view count, but you'd have less people complaining, but we'd probably have the same amount of viewers, and fewer people would watch on replay too, which is another thing. So we're 4 likes away. Who's going to be the one to get us to 100? We have the math to do it. We have the math. We're going to do it, and we'll talk about everything. We gotta get to the trade stuff first, but we can't get there until we get 4 more likes. And we got there finally. Okay, 100. The face cam goes on. The stream shall begin. We are here. We are back. And Donald Trump is back making deals. He's the art of the deal. He wrote the book, and now he made a trade deal with the United Kingdom of all countries, which, again, he said it would be a major power, a highly respected power. They're up there. They're not like, it's not like making a trade deal with China or making a trade deal with one of these like big heavy hitters, but they are a heavy hitter. We don't trade with them as much as we even trade with Canada or trade with Mexico. And Donald Trump, once again, making the Canadian Prime Minister look like a little bitch right in front of him. New guy, same thing. We'll see how long he lasts. Probably not that long. They'll kick him out and they'll swap in a new guy. And they'll win an election against some, conservative that doesn't understand how to win an election again in Canada, because that's what they do. It's what they've been doing. And when you look at what's going on with this trade deal, Donald Trump has reached his first trade deal. So he tariffs the hell out of all these countries, threatens tariffs, and then gets them to come to the table. I said this would happen. It's a tool. Yes, they can be used to generate revenue. Yes, you're going to need some sort of baseline tariff, selective tariffs, etc. That is all true. I don't know if we're going to realistically have our system of taxation back into the 1800s where you had tariffs that ran the entire economy. Maybe Trump would like to, in an ideal world, get there. I just think that, when you're changing an economic system, even if it's to change it to something better, you're going to have a lot of hiccups along the way, and a lot of people might not like it. So you need fast change, and I think the best way you can do that is by at least getting new, better trade deals, which are going to increase our revenues, decrease our trade deficit, and bring jobs back to America. The UK, their manufacturing, their sector, it's booming compared to ours, and that's a major, major problem. We hear so much about how the United States consistently, it's a service-based economy. Then you look at Japan, then you look at South Korea, then you look at the EU and the UK. These countries are doing a little bit better in the manufacturing front. I'm not saying that the economy hasn't changed. I'm not saying that we have to go back to the 1940s or that's feasible, but what we can do is onshore more of these jobs, at least get it back to the trajectory we were on, 30, 40 years ago, not what we're doing right now. And Donald Trump has reached a trade deal with the United Kingdom where $6 billion in external revenue will be raised from 10% tariffs, but there's plenty of goods that are going to be exempt from those tariffs where that would not be a great deal or wouldn't be too popular. And then you have $5 billion in new export opportunities for ranchers, farmers, producers, and enhance the national security of both the U.S. and the UK through the creation of an aluminum and steel trading zone and a secure pharmaceutical supply chain. The deal shows if you respect America and bring serious proposals to the table, America is open for business. Many more to come. Stay tuned. So he has a deal. Technically, are these higher tariffs overall than what we had before? Yes, but still, the main takeaway is you're not gonna, you're having a deal where it's not gonna be a ridiculous imposition, and you at least get them coming to the table, making concessions, and on top of it, it sets a precedent to the point where now Vietnam might follow, India might follow. Japan is another one, Germany, all these other nations, Canada, Mexico. All of these countries need to come to the table. And now that you get one done, you're going to be likely going to get a lot more, because Trump and Starmer, you wouldn't really think they get along too well. Starmer is a very, very liberal guy. He's probably more liberal and more insane, arguably, than somebody like Mark Carney to the north. And Mark Carney, he's going to the White House. They're talking trade with him. But now you have some sort of agreement reached with one country. If you get that out of the way, there's going to be plenty of others that likely will come to the table, and success will follow. Because I don't think people want these, 200% tariffs on long term, especially when it seems like, you're not going to be able to readily transition like our income tax to tariffs from other nations, you name it. It's just not really feasible in the short run. And I think Trump's goal is to at least get a deal done with these other countries, be as unpredictable as possible. People that read The Art of the Deal understand it. You'll have some people that'll argue, is it 4D chess, 5D chess, or is it just Trump button mashing and seeing what works? If anything, the first thing that Trump does is you put a wild proposal out there. It's exactly what he's doing. He's become very unpredictable. He's basically threatening the state of the world economy in the process. But what is he doing in the process? He's getting America to have more of the world's economy centered around us in a way where we're not going to be taken advantage of. And you see what's exactly going on here. Increase in exports, increase in external revenue. UK tariffs decreased. So we're not really, I guess you would say, paying as much, because there's different certain goods. So they'll be more likely to do business if you look at the overall tariff being lowered on their end, but on certain goods on our end, we're raising them. So that's kind of what it does. So that's a fairly good deal on the surface level that Trump was able to strike with the UK. If he's able to do this with every other country, any concern about a trade-based recession, they like to say depression, he's blowing up the economy, it's less likely to happen than a lot of people may originally think. The doomers, the naysayers, the panicans, if you will call them. So there's that. Now we have to talk about some other developments. You have crazy people saying crazy things and unwilling to understand why the left has lost, because their policies are not popular with the general public, especially when it comes down to things like immigration. Open borders are not popular. People now, if you polled back then, should every illegal alien, and you have to use the right term, because you say undocumented, nobody knows what the hell that means. It's a liberal word. It's like saying the drug dealer's an undocumented pharmacist. It's not something that is an accurate term to apply. But when you look at this from an objective lens, if you ask, should all illegal aliens be deported, the answer's in the 60s now. It was maybe in the 40s in the first Trump administration. That has gone up considerably over the past 4 years with the border crisis, and you have to set an example. And people that have been here for a long time, if you don't have papers, if you're not here legally, you're going to have to go to the back of the line. That's basically what needs to happen in order for you to have law and order. You can't have people just coming, they've been here a long time. It doesn't really matter. The bottom line is you're here illegally, you got to go back, you didn't come in the right way. The amount of time you've been here doesn't change that. You're an illegal alien. You have to go back. That's, the way it is. Maybe you're not going to be priority number one for deportation, but if you're caught, you're going to be deported. Like, that's how it works. Like, there obviously is going to be certain priorities. You want the criminals out first, and then you go down the list, and you take everybody out as you can. Obviously, I understand that approach, but the bottom line is you have people in this country illegally. They have no business being here, and then you have these people whining about it. This guy's like a never-Trump Republican even, despite the fact that he has zero conservative views whatsoever, as many of them have just abandoned every single possible conservative view that they can hold, and say, our country has become oppressive hell for non-citizens. Non-citizens, it's an illegal alien. This woman gets pulled over, 19 years old, and it turns out her whole family, they're illegal. The whole entire family, they have no right to be here. They're illegal aliens. They got to go back. You broke the system. You cheated. You're going to be caught. You're going to pay the price for it. It's how it works. You have to go back. That's how these things go. There's not going to be sympathy here. It's like, boo-hoo, burn the Constitution. The little kid is crying. Everybody's seen that meme. It's the same exact concept here. The same people that love to talk about the Constitution Now, they love talking about Donald Trump and the rule of law. Nobody's above the law, they say. Well, these people are apparently the hill to die on necessarily. These people, oh, nobody's above the law. Yeah, that includes these people. Not weaponize the law against political opposition. These people are here illegally. Donald Trump was on track to win a non-contiguous second term, and honestly, all the lawfare they threw at him helped. So that's kind of the ironic thing that you're seeing here on many people, the Trump detractors. I mean, they're de facto on the left. They're on the left. They might say, oh, I'm a never Trump Republican. No, you're on the left. This is Trump's party now. Everybody knows it's Trump's party now. I don't know what the hell they're doing. Speaking of parties and things going on and possible, coalition divides, as we see on the left. You see possibly this divide forming between, once again, the more I guess you would say anti-establishment left, but they're still a part of the establishment, which is kind of ironic, the populist left. But what exactly position do they take when it comes down to opposing the system? Otherwise, just supporting Marxist economic positions, that's pretty much it. And being so far radical on social issues to the point of no return. That's basically what you get from people like Bernie Sanders in the current year. People like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who they're trying to run for president in that wing of the party because they know Bernie is too old. He has more of a mind that happens to be more intact than somebody like Biden, but that's not saying a whole lot, even though he's older than Biden. But you see what's really going on here is the fact that the guy is doing all these events across the country. They love talking about the environment. They love talking about all these different things, but then he's blowing hundreds of it's always the millionaires and the billionaires. He's spending $221,000 on private jets during a Fight the Oligarchy tour, basically mocking the idea of flying commercial, saying, oh, well, you have to stand in line if you're flying United. You can't do that if you're flying to 3 different events per day. So I know it's blurry. I wanted to play the clip, analyze the clip, because I found it just ridiculous. I think a lot of you guys find it just completely ridiculous. It's laughable. This is how these people operate. Take a listen.
Michigan, she said, you shouldn't be using oligarch. It's over people's head. You've gotten criticized from other people. Free Beacon says Bernie Sanders spent $221,000 on private jets fighting the oligarchy tour paid for by friends of Bernie Sanders. That you've spent millions of dollars in campaign funds on private jet travel over the years. How do you push back on both of those things?
When's the last time you saw Donald Trump during a campaign mode at National Airport?
No, it doesn't. But he's also not fighting the oligarchy.
And that's another thing. It's like, oh, what about Donald Trump? Did Donald Trump fly commercial? He says. Yeah, Donald Trump didn't fly commercial. Donald Trump has his own plane. Let's get that out of the way. But Donald Trump doesn't apologize for being wealthy. You can say, and this is the thing, people get lost, or nuance gets lost in the people regarding right-wing populism and what it means. It's like, you want to support the little guy, that's fine, but you can also be wealthy in this country. There's nothing wrong with being wealthy. We want people to be able to achieve the American dream, whether it's working class families thriving or certain people thriving at the highest level in the 1%, as Bernie loves to put it. There's nothing wrong with being in the 1%. Obviously, do they pay their fair share of taxes? They technically do. I think there are many problems with the way that our economic system is built. I think that there's plenty of common ground there. But the bottom line is you have somebody like Bernie Sanders talking about the environment, talking about all this money that he's spending on private jets, railing about the problem with people making a ton of money in politics. It's like, are you poorer than your average senator? Yeah, but at the same time, it's like you don't walk the walk. He says, oh, well, I need to bypass security, whatever. And it's like, there's ways to do that. Get TSA pre-check. There's nothing wrong with that. If it's a time constraint thing, like, you could do something like that. Or you can, obviously when it comes down to the private jet, you're emitting so much, how many carbon emissions in one day of flying. It's very comparable to somebody driving a gas guzzling SUV for several months. Now, again, they hate Tesla now, which is pretty ironic. But the bottom line is, it's just like the sheer elitism from Bernie Sanders is something that I don't think you'd have for Donald Trump. Donald Trump, he'd go and work at McDonald's. They'll say it's like a stunt or whatever. Like, obviously, he's not going to work at McDonald's like while it's going on. He just got shot at multiple times even because it's a security risk. But Donald Trump probably would love to do he'd love to fly commercial like just for fun. Whereas Bernie Sanders doesn't even want to do that. And this is like the guy who's going to stick up for the little guy. He's the guy that's going to stand up for the little guy while he's just trashing waiting in line at United. Yeah, it's not entirely how it works. It's like, oh, an extra 30 minutes or so going through security. It's like you don't even need to take baggage with you. You could just go through the pre-check line, go to your gate pretty quickly if you want to, reach a certain destination. It's not that difficult, but according to Bernie Sanders, it is. Let's take a listen. Let's hear the rest of this clip.
No, you run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United, waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
And you think that this is hitting a mark? You think it's scratching the itch that voters want to hear from?
I think at a time when the people on top are doing phenomenally well, when seniors, working class people are struggling, people want to hear action to stand up to the people who have the wealth and the power and create an economy that works for all of us, not just the people on top.
Well, Senator Sanders, I appreciate you coming on, talking about the issues, and we'll have you back.
So basically, it's like, yeah, he thinks it's beneath him. Oh, I'm doing 5 campaign rallies a day, he says. Okay, do you need to do 5 campaign rallies a day in May 2025? There's no campaign. You're not running for president. You're passing the torch to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, also known as Occasional Cortex. I don't even think she has a cortex at all. She's a very low IQ person. Her and Jasmine Crockett both, from the lowest IQ people in Congress. It's just the way it is. Everybody knows it. But you see Bernie Sanders and what he's doing. He's talking about, oh, we're going to fight the oligarchy by not waiting in line at United because that's beneath the guy. That's beneath him. He's more important than you. It's just every single talking point is straight out of like a communist dictatorship. The same ones that Bernie Sanders for year after year after year kept praising, like Cuba, the USSR, you name it, plenty of them. It's ridiculous, but it is what it is. Speaking of mentally deranged individuals, you have Congressman quote-unquote Sarah, as so-called, they call themselves McBride, formerly known as Timothy. You have this video here where this individual from Delaware, I don't know how they let this individual get elected in the first place. I don't know how Republicans just did not try to even run a campaign because maybe they could have even made it competitive given how these individuals typically underperform in certain elections. But no, it's like, oh, well, we're on our way to the House floor to vote against the dumbest bill, renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which, by the way, at first I was like, is this something that's even going to work or play out well, or is it ridiculous? I think it's more aesthetic. I think it's much better as the Gulf of America than the Gulf of Mexico. You take the Gulf of California, which is not touch California, and name it the Gulf of Mexico. Then you'll have stupid people that think I'm stupid because they're Midwest. Well, what about Baja California? It's not the Gulf of Baja California. Nobody thinks of California and they hear Baja California, just like nobody thinks of, I don't know, they don't think of Canada as America. Oh, it's a part of North America. It's not how it works. That's not how it works. We understand it. America refers to the U.S. California typically refers to California, not Baja California in Mexico, where Tijuana is. Nobody thinks Tijuana, and they're like, oh, it's in California. No, it's in Baja California. Norte is the province, but it's not in California. So I don't want to hear. I had a lot of stupid people come at me for that tweet. It was pretty funny, but that's it. A lot of irony here from somebody who decides to play dress up and rename them rename themselves, because that's exactly what this person's identity revolves around. This is not, you're playing dress up as an adult because, you have some sort of disorder, whether you want to say it's gender dysphoria or whatever. It's a clinical, it's basic science. You're changing your name because of it, because you want to play dress up. essentially, as a grown individual who happens to be who happens to just be a man. The biology, look at your chromosomes. You have Y chromosomes. There's no double X chromosomes there. At least that we're not aware of, but even if there were, there's still definitely Y chromosome. But that's besides the point. It's like, oh yeah, you want to talk about Trump renaming things out of frivolity, and why don't you look in the mirror? Why don't you just look in the mirror? It's pretty obvious to anybody how ironic that this is. So that's the way it is. A lot of Democrat insanity. We'll also be touching base on the 2026 insanity from certain rhino Republicans because they love to be backstabbers, including Brian Kemp, the governor out of Georgia. He's decided not to run for Senate, and this comes right after you have other people like Chris Sununu teasing a run, not running for Senate. And you have so many people in the political consultant class, stupid people, these neocons, they're wrong about everything. What are they telling people? Oh, no, you can run for president and win in 2028. You don't need to run for Senate. Yeah, that's not entirely how it works. It's just incredibly stupid. But even if he's just retiring from politics, because you'll have some people that are just saying, oh, he's just retiring. It's like, you understand what's at stake here. And it's like, even when you need the rhino, when you need the establishment Republican, because I think the term rhino is a bit overused, but Brian Kemp is objectively an establishment Republican. There's no way around it. He's fair weather on certain issues when it benefits him, except when it matters most, where if you ran for Senate, you probably would win. I'm not saying Republicans can't win. Just please don't put up MTG, and definitely don't put up Brad Raffensperger either. I think there's a perfect middle ground of plenty of generic but solid candidates that can win and support Donald Trump's agenda. But you have two people who possibly could have put 2 seats away for Republicans in the Senate, and they've decided not to run. Now, on the Democrat side, you have a lot of problems with their candidate recruitment. Nobody wants to go for Maine Senate against Collins. I don't think any of them would really win. Roy Cooper doesn't want to go for it in North Carolina. Gary Peters not running for re-election. Shaheen not running for re-election. And Scott Brown's going to give Pappas a run for his money up there. And then you have Tina Smith in Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota's going to be really all that competitive, but you're going to have to put a lot more resources there, and especially if you nominate a far-left lunatic, which there's plenty of those that possibly could be on the top of the Democrat shortlist for Senate. So regardless of however you want to spin it, the midterms aren't looking too good for the Democrats, but you have these Republicans, and they're weak. You could actually do something good. I think a lot of people, even in like the MAGA wing, have warmed up to the possibility of a Senator Sununu in New Hampshire, because New Hampshire hasn't gone Republican at the presidential level since before I could walk. And Georgia is a state that's moving vastly to the left. You don't know how the midterms are going to play out, but you have a relatively popular governor with an approval rating in the 60s that would probably put this clown Ossoff out to political pasture, would end his 2028 prospects before they would even begin, and he's not going for it. And maybe Republicans win 1 seat or both of these seats, and now we say, yeah, it's a good thing we don't have to deal with Brian Kemp because we got somebody much better than Brian Kemp who actually won. That possibly could happen. I'm not saying it can't happen, but given what we're working with here, there's going to be a lot of competitive races. Democrats have a favorable environment in the midterms just because of who typically shows up for these things, which is a whole nother problem. But when it comes down to it, you really could have put it away. He didn't put it away. Now you have to deal with the fact that we don't even know who the nominee is going to be. There's a lot of good choices. I'm sure we'll get to that in some of the super chats, but I'm not particularly thrilled with some of these antics of candidate recruitment on the Republican side, because it's like, this guy, he's interested in the Senate. He goes to the Senate for like 6 different meetings. Sununu goes and he meets with Daines, and then he decides not to run, despite having a lot of interest in doing so. These people are clowns and cowards. That's what you have in the Republican establishment. And honestly, I hope that we can find a candidate who can win. And I hope Scott Brown wins in New Hampshire, or at least runs a close race, because honestly, I think you can make the case that it would be worth the risk if we're able to get across the finish line. So we'll see what happens on that front. But I did want to touch base on that. Also, like I've been saying, this blue wave talk from the Democrats, it's electoral hubris. Yes, they can have a good year, but there's no possible pathway for them to the Senate. There's no possible pathway for them to even as many House seats as they had after 2018. It's very likely it's going to be a reverse 2022 on all fronts, even if you have a sluggish economy as you did in 2022, even though Republicans are the low propensity coalition party, even though there's not going to probably be like a Roe v. Wade issue to tip the scales in their favor. It's just the way that these things are going, and the fact that the Democrats have an approval rating as a party is like it's like at 20-something%. It's not looking too good for them. So without further ado, it's only been... We did a good job, only 30 minutes, because we'll get to all the super chats. We have 17. Let's get to 50. After a quick water break, we'll get started here. But Sharon, thank you for becoming a member. Sharon A. Maryland Degati 83 sends 2 super chats, two $2 super chats each, saying, do you think North Carolina will be a red state in the future? I think it's going to be a minimal change in North Carolina. Also, would if Roy Cooper, would he win or lose? I think he'd make it very competitive. I'm not saying he would win. I'm not saying he would lose. I think he could win, though, and I think he would give you a much better chance as a Democrat to win, just like Brian Kemp would give you a much better shot as a Republican to beat Ossoff. I think Ossoff can still be toppled because, again, we talk about propensity and coalitions. The Deep South, it benefits Republicans to have lower turnout. It is not like that in the Midwest at all, and it's a major problem in the Midwest. But King Trojan 17 for 5 says, happy early birthday. Just moved from California to Arizona. Happy my vote will actually hold some weight now. Excited for Governor Biggs MAGA. Well, that's definitely something that's going to be, and that's +1, by the way. Every person that moves, it's +1. So you love to see people moving to Arizona and voting Republican, bringing their Republican politics with them. In fact, a lot of people in California that leave, they become, I mean, they're Republican. That's why they're leaving. And still, the people that are left behind are still moving to the right. So it's like you have this Republican voter factory going on in these blue states. And that's why the popular vote is shifted so far to the right. And that's a good thing. And Republicans as a whole, I mean, they outvoted the Democrats for the first time indisputably in an election, or at least the party identification was more Republican friendly since what? You'd have to go all the way back to 1928. Even in the years of Reagan, there were more Democrats than Republicans. Of course, Reagan won a good share of those Democrats, and a lot of those Democrats back then, if they're alive now, were Republican voters. But still, Johnny Heartdog for 2 says, why am I not getting notifications? YouTube sucks. I don't know if that's what that's why the stream was doing what it's doing, but it doesn't notify people beforehand. Johnny Heartdog also says it's not looking good for the Democrats. Let's hope they don't smarten up before the midterms. Well, I mean, the candidate recruitment, the window is already begun. So they're not doing a very good job so far. Could that change? It's possible that it could. But as a party, what are they trying to do? Oh, we're going to, oppose every little thing Trump does. They've been doing that for the past 9 years. It hasn't really gotten them anywhere, has it? So midterm year, beneficial. Turnout dynamics for them in many places, but arguably not in the places that matter that could determine the House control, not in the places that could determine how many Senate seats they have. Some of these governors' races more localized. I probably would be more afraid of like Iowa than Nevada or Georgia, just because of the certain candidates that possibly could be running. I'm not saying that we have to be worried about Iowa. I don't think we do. But, just it could be too close for comfort, and that's important. That's why people need to show up and vote. Johnny Heartdog for 5 says, Vivek has been quiet lately. I wonder what he's up to. Has he been kicked out of the loop? Was he in it to begin with? Well, I think he's campaigning for governor, and maybe not making too many waves lately is a good thing for him, so long as he's focused on his job, which is to deliver Ohio for the Republicans next year. Jared the American says, happy birthday. Hope you have a good birthday. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Technically, like I said, my birthday's on the 11th. It's the 8th, soon to be the 9th on the East Coast, but I won't be able to stream again before then. So this is the birthday stream. So get your birthday super chats in while you guys can, if you guys so wish to. It's not required, but it is appreciated. Johnny Heartdog for 20 Says, I said this 100 times. I think the Democrats are grooming someone right now who's waiting in the wings, someone energetic, charismatic, and appealing, someone who we have no idea who. We need to be prepared. It's possible that they're trying, but knowing how the Democrats view a solid candidate for president in the modern day and age, I don't have high hopes. They've done well in the micro and very poorly in the macro for a reason. I don't see anybody that I look at their bench and I say that person is threatening. Could that person come along? Yes, but if they're really being like groomed to run by the Democrats, that would make me feel more at ease than like, oh, I'm afraid of this person. But I will say they're going to come out of nowhere. They're candidate that's the strongest, but they may not win the primary. They may not win the primary. Walk Talk 21 for 10 says, not thrilled with the new pope, wanted Parolin or Erdo. I feel like this is a move to counter Trump, put an American on the papal chair to resist Trump's agenda from the Vatican. Well, I think that there is, that is kind of a recurring theme that I'm seeing, because this guy, whether you like him or not, he is Pope Francis, the sequel, essentially. I mean, he's indistinguishable. They say, oh, he's like really solid on family and like the gay issues or abortion. It's like Pope Francis was as well. The media would just take his words out of context and run with it because they could, because it's harder to do that it's easier to do that when you have a pope that doesn't speak English. This pope is American. He speaks English. He speaks direct. The problem with it is that you look at the guy's Twitter feed and it's, trashing J.D. Vance, trashing Donald Trump. It technically voted in Republican primaries, but most likely did not vote for Donald Trump. So technically you could say that his role is not political, and it's technically true. But if he's the type to use the office of the papacy, if you will, to push his political agenda, that's something that I don't think will sit well with a lot of people. It's not going to be good for the brand of the church. It's not going to be good for the public discourse in general, because you're basically just giving a lifeline to liberals who want to bully conservative Catholics into opposing Donald Trump and opposing J.D. Vance. And it's like, I know you're not going to agree with every person on everything. I don't agree with Donald Trump on everything. I think, everybody has basically made that clear where they stand, where they support Trump, where they don't support Trump. I support Trump on most things. There's a few things that you could probably point to where I don't support him. But immigration is crucial, and to just like reject years of church doctrine in order mortis for the sake of what? I don't know. He's very liberal on that issue. So I'll be praying for him. I'll be praying for the church. I hope he proves me wrong. I'm not going to be one of these people that just has this anti-Catholic agenda that just will root against the Pope no matter what, because you do have a lot of people like that out there, even in the conservative sphere, especially in the conservative sphere even. But it's like, I don't really have high hopes that he's like going to be the based guy. Like, I knew it wasn't going to be Cardinal Sarah. He's older. But there were a few other people that I think would have been more solid, or at least like conservative, because usually you have a liberal pope, then a more conservative one, then a more liberal. It's like the what do they say? Fat pope, thin pope type of, it's like a saying that they have regarding the Vatican. But I don't know. So we'll see what happens. But he's definitely a moderate, you can say moderate liberal, which is not, in my opinion, ideal. But we'll see. We'll see. Red Whale Politics says, happy birthday, my man. Well, thank you. Johnny Heartdog for 5 says, what do you personally think is going to happen with Greenland and Canada? What do you think the final outcome will be? Well, I don't think we're taking Canada. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Alberta votes. I think it's more important to watch how younger Albertans vote, because maybe in our lifetime you could say, yeah, the Canadian border is not going to look the way it does now. I think that's a fair assessment. Quebec wants out. Alberta, Saskatchewan, probably even more so than Alberta, it just doesn't get talked about enough, probably wants out at some point. But is the threshold really there? I personally don't think it's there yet, but it could get there, which is worth watching. Now, Greenland, I think, will happen at some point. I don't know if it's going to happen during Trump's term. It could happen in a future presidential term, but it makes too much sense for us. It doesn't make any sense not to go after Greenland. The people on the left that oppose this just do it because Donald Trump supports the idea. It has nothing to do, it doesn't hold up under scrutiny, this notion we shouldn't have Greenland. Like, why? The minerals, the shipping lanes, the strategic positioning, it makes so much sense. And it's been talked about for decades upon decades in American politics. It's only been a problem for these people because Donald Trump is the one that is going out there and is talking about it, because Donald Trump actually wants to get things done. Red Whale Politics is top 2 or 3 senators for primaries in 28. Well, I think Alaska's if we just get Alaska, I'm fine with literally everything else. I mean, you could probably point to a couple other people that, could be looked into. But I really think that Alaska, if we just get Alaska, which again, the ranked choice voting initiative is going to be crucial. It's, yeah. American Nerd 1776 says, happy early birthday, Rep. Hope you're doing well. Thoughts on Pope Leo the 16th, first American Pope. I was hoping for the Sarah guy, but I just says, this guy. I assume you say you like this guy. Well, first of all, I think it's a good thing. It's, from like the American pride perspective, it's like we have the Olympics, we got the World Cup, we got the Pope, all during the Trump era. That's all cool. I will say that the immigration stance is a bit shaky. The open trashing, and maybe it's a staffer he has. Maybe, he's not writing the tweets himself, but you have a lot of statements that are probably on immigration weaker than what we saw out of somebody like a Pope Francis, because there's a lot of nuances to these topics. But it's like, if you're an American, you should understand, we're a sovereign nation, and illegal immigration is, if anything, that's a problem. That's greed from these people that want to come in and just use the country for their own personal benefit. Every nation has the right to establish their borders, their laws, etc. Nations are in the Bible. All of that stuff is true, but for some reason, this guy doesn't seem to grasp that. I think that it doesn't sit well with me, but we'll see. I hope that he ends up being a good pope, and I hope he keeps politics out of it and focuses on the, issues that he's good on, like family, the possible social conservative aspect of some of his ideology, because if he focuses on that instead of picking fights, instead of being used as a mouthpiece, because that's the thing, because you could take Pope Francis, anything he says, you could take it out of context. He doesn't speak English. But when it comes down to this guy who is from Chicago, it's like, if he says anything cut and dry, it's cut and dry. So maybe he'll be good on certain things and the media won't like that. But if he's going to be trashing Vance and trashing Trump, it's kind of a conflict of interest. Your role should be strict, religion more so than trying to, meddle in American politics. If that's the case, why not make J.D. Vance the Pope? Because he's the top American officer in America who's Catholic. Him and Marco Rubio. Technically, you can become a Pope if you're just a baptized Catholic. Everybody freaked out at the Trump meme where he's the Pope. I mean, technically, if Trump was Catholic, he could be the Pope if he wanted to. He's not a Catholic, obviously. His son's Catholic, his wife is Catholic, at least Barron is. I think that the rest of his family's Protestant, but it's like you have a lot of people freaking out about that meme, and it was like, it's a meme, okay? You're not gonna, these people that were freaking out about that said nothing about the rainbow pride Last Supper, and that's actually mocking Christ and his apostles, not, a meme of somebody as like the Pope. It's like if Biden posted a meme of him as the Pope, like, it would be dumb. The only difference is Biden is far more liberal than Trump on the issues that matter. So that's kind of why it would make more waves than if Trump does it. But I'm not going to sit here and say that it was, this was like some wonderful thing that Trump did. I could see why people wouldn't sit well with people, because you did have some people on the right that were Catholic that didn't like it. But it's just a lighthearted meme. It's like if you have a kid that dresses up as the Pope for Halloween in a non-offensive manner, is that blasphemous? Maybe you would advise against it, but it's not blasphemous. So let's see. Johnny Hartdog for 5 says, to Red Whale, until we repeal ranked choice voting, Murkowski won't be primaried. I'm doing everything I can on my end up here in Alaska. Well, hopefully we see what happens, but I mean, that is true. I've made that point many times, and I'll make it many times more, and hopefully after 2026, I won't have to make it anymore, and we'll finally repeal it, because I think that matters more than even the governorship up there, believe it or not. Every dime should go into repealing ranked choice. Red Whale Politics for 2 says, can't wait for Dems to cope about it. Well, if a China deal happens, oh yeah, they'll be coping. They'll be coping. Tucson Paleocon says, should we rename the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Gulf? Sure. Again, it sounds better. I mean, I will say, though, about this whole Persian thing, it's like Iran, its leadership is bad, but I mean, this is a country that at one point was a very beautiful nation. My grandmother grew up there. It was a wonderful place for a very, very long time. Tehran was a beautiful city. Obviously, it's changed. It's not what it used to be. We understand that, but still, it's like this notion of all Persian, like demonizing the whole Persian thing because of the leadership. I don't know if that's the best way to go about it, but I mean, if it happens, it happens. It is more in line with the Arabian side than the Persian side anyways, but it is what it is. Ash K2 says, Trump is terrorizing the children of migrant parents, deporting U.S. citizens, wife of Garcia crying on national media. There goes the Latino vote. Have you even met, so these people come in with comments like this. Have you met a Hispanic person in your life? You probably haven't, to be honest. I don't even know where this person's from, where they live. It doesn't matter. But it's like the people that voted for Donald Trump voted for him because of this stuff. They voted for him. The Hispanics that voted for him were fed up with these illegal aliens in their communities. Most Hispanics are Americans. Illegals can't vote. I don't understand why people say you have to cave for the Hispanics. It's like we saw what happened with the Hispanics when Donald Trump ran a campaign that was almost borderline at times a single issue campaign on immigration. And that's where he picked up all these voters. He set records. So to sit here and say that this matters or that these are heroes, if the left wants to make a hero out of some gang member and say he represents all Hispanics, if anything, they're just going to lose more. Like, this is what you got to have balls. If you don't have balls, you're not going to win. We already won. We won the election. 2028, the illegals are gone. It's going to be much better. Donald Trump said we're going to deport all the illegals. My fear is we're not deporting enough. Now, it's very early on. It's kind of a honeymoon period. But that would be my main concern about the Hispanic vote, is if you don't deport enough, then maybe you're going to be viewed as weak and then you're going to lose support. So kind of think about it the other way, because I think that is a much stronger argument to why the Hispanic vote would go the other way compared to, the media, which has been wrong about literally everything, is trying to make a big deal about these deportations. That's what they want us. They want us to have that mindset. That's why they put out some of these push polls about, what's the guy's name? Abrigo Garcia, where he's got the MS-13 coded tattoos on his knuckles and then his significant others covering them up in the picture. It's not like she covered up his arm tattoos, which were not possibly, deducible as MS-13. So there's a clear disconnect there. But the person who's in the wrong, it's them. Everybody knows that. A Walk Talk 21 for 10 says, funny you mentioned anti-Catholic bias. Al Smith got buried in 1928 because of that against Hoover. Well, there are plenty of reasons why Hoover won, but did that possibly impact the election result in certain states? Yeah, probably. It definitely made Alabama much closer than it needed to be. I think that's borderline indisputable. And it was kind of the first crack in the South. And some of it was anti-Catholic bias. Some of it wasn't. But you also had a pro-Catholic bias in, Massachusetts and New York and those states voting Democrat for, a rare Democrat victory. So it kind of did go a little bit both ways. But he wasn't that great of a candidate, but his legacy has lived on through the Al Smith dinner and things of that nature. American Nerd 1776 sends 3 super chats. The first one says, I heard the new pope is more of a moderate but leans toward tradition compared to Francis. A don't rock the boat guy. Still will be praying for him. Yeah, I hope he does. Look, I hope he does well. This is not an anti-pope thing. I want him to do well. I don't want him to go in there and actively be a mouthpiece for the establishment. The political establishment is celebrating this right now. That's never a good sign. Now, maybe he doesn't get involved in the politics from this point forward and focuses on, just putting his head down and doing all the pope stuff, if you will. And if he does that, he'll be a good pope, and that will be a good thing. But if he gets involved too much in the political side of things like the previous pope did, it's not going to be good for the brand of the Catholic Church. It's not going to be good for his personal brand, which, I think you have to put that aside. But if he's not going to be putting it aside, he'd probably want to be getting praise from one wing or the other. And we know which wing he's leaning a little bit more towards in the political aisle, given some of what he's talked about. So we'll see. But guys, we're only at 21 super chats. We got to get to 50. Feel free to send them in. Even $2 super chats count towards the goal. This is true. American Nerd 76 also says, funny how an American became Pope on 80th VE Day. I assume that's the veterans, the World War II Memorial Day. Yes, that is correct. Donald Trump did technically declare it as such. American Nerd 76 also says, thoughts on Buddy Carter running for Georgia Senate. I hope they just pick one person and stick with them, and I hope it's not MTG, and I hope it's not Brad Raffensperger, because you have the Rhino side, and then you have the side that's not going to be able to win and will get you decimated in an election. But there is that middle ground, and I think that that's what Trump is leaning towards, and you have to pick somebody who is going to be solid and can win. And if Carter is going to give you the best shot to win, I support Carter. If Collins gives you the best shot to win, I'd support Collins. We'll see who it ends up being for sure. And we have a long way to go. But that's the end of the super chats, guys. Feel free to keep sending them. We only have 317 viewers. I don't know. We have not a very active stream tonight for one reason or another. Maybe it is a notification issue. I don't know. But that's okay. We have a lot of people here. Make sure you guys like the stream as well. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. American Nerd 1776 says VE means victory in Europe. Big deal for World War II. I mean, yeah, that's true. European Victory Day. And then you had VJ Day, which is victory over Japan. That was the official, I believe, end of World War II. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah. We can look in regular chat if there's nothing else to talk about. I'm not ending the stream at 52 minutes, but we did get through every single super chat, believe it or not. I don't think I missed a single one. But let's at least get to 250 likes, guys. We're 11 away. Let's see. We'll look in regular chat, but feel free to send super chats as well. Kevin says, could you ever see yourself starting your own political consulting firm? I mean, I have a really full plate, but it's something that I'd be open to assisting other firms, and I kind of am to a certain extent ahead of 2026. We'll see. When you have your own poll, it's a lot easier to do. I can say that much. Thoughts on the factions of the Democrats? Well, you have two factions. We covered that earlier. The Bernie wing, which is now the AOC wing, the squad wing, which again, it's more about the tactics than anything else. It's really more about the tactics, because the established, what meaningful difference do they have other than, it's an additional taxation policy. It's an additional healthcare policy. We want to abolish, Bernie would say, private healthcare. The more neoliberal establishment Democrats are going to say, we don't want to do that, but we want to have still a government run plan, make a more bloated Obamacare, which is not going to really, in my opinion, lower the costs. And it didn't lower the costs when you had the first run of Obamacare. Alex Loarca says, I hope the New York City mayor race will be more interesting since it will be a three-way race. Yeah, well, it could be interesting. Also, shout out to Sean Jaramillo, even though that doesn't count towards the goal. We still appreciate it. But in terms of the New York City mayoral election, yeah, that is something that could happen. We'll see. We will see what happens on that front. But Ash K2 says, I'm from the Golden State, fourth largest economy. If Republicans weren't ruthless with Prop 187 and scaring Hispanics, it would still be competitive. Well, first of all, that's a proposition that overwhelmingly passed in a then very blue California because it was a popular policy. First of all, let's get that out of the way. The main problem was that you had amnesty. That's what turned it blue more so than anything else. I mean, it's not the only thing that turned it blue. I feel like people will just say, oh, Reagan turned California blue. It helped, though. It definitely helped turn it blue. But the Hispanics, if you look at how Hispanic voting patterns have been regarding issues such as deportation in heavy Hispanic areas in certain parts of Massachusetts, was there a little bit of a divide in the illegal alien executive order, which again had wording that was very confusing. There was a tiny bit of a divide, but it wasn't a big divide. And if you're already voting for Trump knowing that he's the deportation guy, I don't think people understand how bad 2016 was for how the Democrats were hammering the messaging. And when you even had mass deportations being less popular, Donald Trump still won more of the Hispanic vote than Mitt Romney. And then he set a record. He didn't set a record by promising amnesty like Bush. He did much better than Bush by talking about issues that actually matter, such as communities being overrun with criminal illegal migrants. This Maryland guy, you go to every Trump voting Hispanic, they're like, yeah, get him out of here. I mean, seriously, the minority Trump supporters tend to be more America first than your white Republicans do. It's just the way it works. Now, technically, more of the white population votes Republican, but of the Hispanic Republicans, why would you think they would vote for Trump in the first place if they cared so much about this? This is the real issue. The main reason why Hispanics have voted Democrat has largely been economic reasons, but now that Democrats are becoming the party of the elite and Republicans are becoming the party of the working class, that's partially why they're gaining a lot of these Hispanic voters, the same way they've gained a lot of these other, later white immigrant groups up in the Rust Belt over a certain period of time. Then they got the Tejanos. Now they're getting just Hispanics in general, not a majority, but they're, running in the 40s. But it's like Hispanics in general voted Democrat, not even because of immigration, but because of 30 other issues. Now, like gun control, if you look at that, the polls would show that, Hispanics favored more gun restrictions. Now that's changing a bit because of assimilation, and now they're becoming more Republicans. There's plenty of different issues that Republicans have been able to capitalize on. Immigration's actually become one of them, believe it or not. So that's the main takeaway. Maryland Degati 83. Now the super chats are rolling in. What do you mean minimal about North Carolina being red? I mean that North Carolina probably isn't going to move much. Certain parts like Asheville are growing, getting bluer. Certain other parts are probably going to move to the right a little bit, like eastern North Carolina, southeastern North Carolina. So American Nerd 1776 says, is it time to give Bondi the Mike Waltz treatment? Well, I wouldn't shed a tear if she got fired tomorrow. I'll leave it at that. Rob M. Roberts says, you think left-wing economic populism wins in 28? No, because it's not popular. Now, it is changing in terms of the generational divide that you see. Obviously, among millennials, Bernie Sanders is very popular. He was not popular among older Democrats. Older Democrats have passed away to an extent, and then you have more of the voting pool as that 2016 Bernie wing, although the Bernie wing was more anti-Hillary than anything else. It wasn't pro-Bernie. And then a lot of those Bernie voters went to Trump and then stayed with Trump and are still with Trump, whereas Bernie Sanders has read it and that's it. So I don't think it wins. I mean, you see polls that'll say healthcare policy is single payer health. Would you support a free healthcare for everybody? Of course, the answer is going to be yes to most people. It sounds good. Doesn't mean it works. And in a campaign, when you campaign on certain things like this, even in California, hasn't worked out too well. So I think we could debate the intricacies of all these policies, of which there are plenty, and there's plenty of room for debate. I think that if we could do some form of universal health care, I'd be in support of it. The question is, how would you do it? How would you do it without raising taxes, hurting the way of life for, many people that like their healthcare plan? They don't want to be thrown off their healthcare plan. There's a lot to really discuss there. So, we could have that conversation. I'm open to a lot on healthcare. I think that everybody can agree that our healthcare system, it's broken. It's not perfect. Conservatives that will sit here and say that, oh no, it's 100% perfect, might be perfect for some people. It's not perfect for everybody. I mean, even if you have insurance, in many cases, it's not going to be perfect. We need to fix the system. I don't think overhauling it with a government-run system is going to work out. And I think a big reason why a lot of other countries can have that, but we can't, is look at the nations and look at their demographics. And I'm not talking about ethnicity here. I'm talking about obesity. Obviously when you have a system though that is being overrun with migrants, talking about the other part of the demographic stuff, it's like Sweden's is not going to be sustainable. You talk to people in Sweden, they say, yeah, free healthcare, whatever. It's a rich nation. Problem is it going to be sustainable with all the migrants that they've had to take in? There are plenty of concerns about that. You have plenty of concerns with the NHS. You have plenty of concerns with a lot of things. So like a voucher program, yeah, I probably would be open to that. I think there's ways that you need to get the insurance companies to work together. In some cases, you're going to have less regulation. And in some cases, you can have regulation. But the way we've been doing it has not been beneficial overall. Aaron Albano says, FYI, it's pronounced Pierre Polyev. I believe I've been saying that, at least as of late. It's one of those things that I didn't know how to initially pronounce, but you guys have done a good job at correcting me, but I appreciate the super chat. J.R. Williams says, insurrection actor, he'll be lucky to deport him. Well, they've got to do something. The judges are out of control. And to be fair, I think that they have deported a lot more because it gets laughed at. Self-deportation is real. When you look at the numbers and you have 500,000 lost jobs for foreign-born workers, but you have more than that gain, like 1 million plus gain for native-born Americans, that should tell you that there are people leaving the workforce, and maybe it's not going to show up in the direct numbers of deportation because so many people will hear it, but they'll just go straight home. They'll go straight back to where they came in the country of origin because they understand, oh, look what they're doing to said person. You want to talk about, as the one super chatter said, the media and the Hispanic vote. The main people that are going to be freaked out about that are going to be your non-citizens and some of your Democrat voting Hispanics more so than your average Hispanic Trump support. The Trump support's not going to waver. I don't know why people would imagine that it would. If you voted for Trump, you voted for deportations. It's inseparable from his brand. Now, you could say we wouldn't gain certain people, but do we need to do that? Not necessarily. I mean, the alternative would be far worse. John Waffle says, I did research on the new Pope. I'm horrified on what he believes in. Being the first American Pope and refusing to speak English, says, I didn't know he refused to speak English. That's interesting. But let's see. A lot of people in Super Chat. $2. It's true. Red Whale says it correctly. $2 Super Chats do count towards the goal. If people want to donate more, they're more than welcome to. But anything helps towards the goal. The birthday goal is 50. It's my birthday this weekend. This is the birthday stream. So we'll see. But we got a lot of people. 3.4 million high school students graduate every year. They need jobs too. Exactly. That's 100% accurate. Which, by the way, guys, like the stream. Let's get it up to 300. Let's get it towards 300 likes. But here we go. I think the John Willard guy in chat, he's been here for a while. I'm pretty sure he's some sort of troll. American Nerd 1776 says, think the new Pope spends more time in Peru than the U.S. Well, it's definitely interesting. I saw something that he was like at the White Sox World Series in 2005. There was a picture. I don't know if that was like a real thing or if somebody was making like a Chicago-related meme. But how much does Vivek win by? Probably, I'd say mid-single digits, to be honest. They're gonna try to put up a fight against him, but he's gonna win. Ohio's Ohio. He could even win by more. It doesn't seem like he's losing a primary. Every poll has Jim Tressel getting decimated by Vivek, which is a good sign for the general. But if there's any dirt on him, they need to air it now so we know where we stand. Ash K2 is better than John Willard. Yeah, I mean, John Willard's just a troll. Ash K2 seems like somebody who's very concerned and neurotic, and at least super chats the show. So I would have to agree. Thoughts on Shiloh Hendricks raising $700K? Well, I think there's two ways you could look at it. The first way is people are dumb for giving money to this woman who basically yelled racial insults at a 5-year-old. The other way is you have some scumbag at a park who is filming people, and he's been accused in the past. He got off for one reason or another, we don't know why, of child or statutory abuse or there was some child sex thing, some accusation of pedophilia. He's not related to said kid, but he's filming in the park. He's posting it online for clicks. They're trying to ruin people's lives over it. And somebody getting like $1 million in donations is kind of a disincentive to do such a thing. I don't condone what she did. There's really no excuse for that type of behavior. Control yourself, conduct yourself. If you have a problem, you could deal with it in a better way. But at the end of the day, I don't think everybody giving her money is a horrible person, because I think that there is like this recognition of, yeah, we need to fight back. And I really wish that there would have been a better example to do this for over the years, because of how many people have gotten canceled, the cancel culture. How do you combat that effectively? This is a very good way to combat it, whether you support her or not. I think that she acted out of line, and I'm not going to give her any of my money, but I will say that at the end of the day, there is something to the notion of this can beat the cancel culture. And I heard Matt Walsh's take on it, because so many people were freaking out on social media about the take. And I mean, everything he said, I pretty much agree with everything he said in the video. I refuse to see where it was objectionable. Because if you want to like I said, and he also said there was plenty of examples throughout history. He listed them. He's like, I wish we would have done this before. And it's like, yeah, and then you look at what the left's doing. They raise money for a murderer. He kills a white kid in cold blood, this guy, Carmelo Anthony, and then he's like some hero to the left. They raise him $500,000, but apparently I'm supposed to be more upset or equally upset over a mean word, which again, I don't condone, but you're not gonna get me to be upset about this whole ordeal. So like I said, I think she was in the wrong, but I think there is something deeper here going on to the notion of this guy filming for clicks online and then trying to get people to threaten somebody's life over 2 syllables. That's also an overreaction, and it's a problem with social media's outrage culture. And in order to combat it effectively, raising a bunch of money is like, yeah, I don't want to post this on social media now. I'm going to make this person a millionaire. It's like people have crash outs. They have bad days. It is what it is. I don't know what their beliefs are, if it's an anomaly of what they believe, or if it's representative of them just being a general menace to society and verbally, assaulting 5-year-olds. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But like I said, I think that there does need to be looked into. I think that there are probably people that are worth donating money to that get canceled for equally dumb things. And if it was done over the years, I think it really could have been used to combat. So the right's gaining teeth. They're fighting back a little bit in certain ways. You may not like some of the people that are kind of the symbols, but I'm glad that that you have people that are actually fighting back effectively, and it is setting an example. Because then it's like, oh, we just made this person a millionaire. We tried to ruin their life. It doesn't really work out that way. And I think the left really, with the whole Carmelo Anthony thing, was the final straw. Now, as for this online race war type of stuff going on, it's very online stuff. That part is true. But then again, I don't think that cancel culture in general is not popular among the general public. This whole left wing, oh, we're going to defend murderers based on their race. I mean, there might be more of a truth to that in real life. At least there was with like the whole OJ thing back in the day. But I think most people would agree that Anthony needs to be behind bars for 40 years. And, whatever that woman did was an anomaly. And then also the guy filming is also some type of scumbag who's just filming for clicks online. He's an alleged accused pedophile. They dropped the charges mysteriously, but he's filming in a public park with children. Maybe the whole thing was a setup to get her clout. I don't know what it was, but either way, I understand. There's a method here to combating a serious problem, even if she's not like the best vessel overall. Let's see. American Nerd 1776 says, isn't Matt Walsh cringe because he works at the Daily Wire? Not necessarily. I mean, it's a news outlet. I think that they've produced some people over the years that have been solid and people over the years who have been weak. I mean, I have mixed feelings on Matt Walsh. He's had some good takes over the years. He's had some bad takes over the years. But sometimes when he's very right, he's been very right. When he's been wrong, he's been very wrong. So, I mean, I don't think there's a single, I guess you would say, political commentator who's right about everything. So Sharon A says, learn the difference between four-year college and graduate degree voters. I understand there's nuance there too, because, having a bachelor's degree, and honestly, the major does have a role too, is a lot different than having a postgraduate. If you have a postgrad degree, then there's still a big segment of Republicans in that sphere, but it's less than 40%. So again, you'll have people that'll flip this notion on its head. Oh, well, the smart people are Democrat. And it's like, just because you score high on an IQ test, which can be a predictor, a very, very good predictor of success and how much you earn in life and things like that. It doesn't instantly make you a political genius. It doesn't make you right about certain things. There's always a big part of that, class that's a big dissenter. And we're seeing more and more of that. I mean, Elon Musk, one of the smartest men in the world, he was a Democrat for a long time. Now he's a Republican. So you never know. We don't know how the future is going to go, but a lot of young people are moving to the right, and maybe that's going to impact the college-educated vote in the long run. We just don't know. And there's also, nuance. If you have a associate's degree or a trade degree, you're far more likely to be a Republican. It's just how it works. Did Rep talk about Tillis screwing Ed Martin? I did not. If I'm Tom Tillis, because I understand, first of all, you're running for re-election in a very competitive state, so you're going to have to probably have moments where you might have to distance yourself from Donald Trump and run with him when it benefits you. My problem is that there's no reason to support, or there's no reason to oppose Ed Martin. This is not going to be a hot button issue. It's only going to screw you over among your own base. And he already has a problem with his own base. So why is he doing that? I think it's a really bad look for him. A really bad look in my opinion. So that's my take on Tom Tillis. I don't think he's very politically skilled because he doesn't gain anything by it. He's not gaining independent voters by opposing some guy that nobody's ever heard of except online, grassroots, MAGA people, which can make or break him in a general. Primary, I don't think he's going to be primaried. If there was a viable primary challenger, I'd be open to it, but I just don't see anyone primarying him, whether you like it or not. Literally, God says Fetterman, more like Fetter Chud. Fetterman is he's a clown. And you have so many people that'll lionize the guy on the right because he's just not totally insane on immigration and calls out the crazy Hamas people or whatever. And it's like, the guy is still a Democrat. He still votes against you almost 100% of the time. And he goes on tirades about, it's a horrible thing that Republicans wanted to kick men out of women's sports. It's like, the guy's a clown. Can we just all agree that it's been entertaining, it's been fun, but now is not the time to be shilling for this guy. We got to defeat this guy. It might be hard to defeat him because he's built up this moderate image. Ravino says, when's the 24-hour stream coming? Well, we'll see. I don't think it will ever happen, but I don't know. Probably not going to happen. I think the longest we've done is like 11 or 12 hours, election nights, that sort of thing. Maybe even less than that, but we've done some very long streams. I don't think this is going to end up being one of them, but we'd love to hit our goal. So we're 15 away. Sarah laughs for 10. Says, I'm in Arizona. How likely is it we can get rid of Hobbs? By the way, happy birthday. Well, thank you, first of all, for the happy birthday. Second of all, I think Hobbs can go down. I mean, she's not popular. It's a very different state. You know, usually incumbent governors, it's hard to topple them. It's hard to beat them. I think she's probably one of the few exceptions. Yes, man, thank you for sending generic Latin text. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Every bit helps. Let's see what people in chat are saying. New trade deals help the work. They do. I mean, the more trade deals that can deliver are going to benefit Trump, because it shows that he's actually doing something. And that's why people get antsy. That's why you have Trump's approval. Like, it hasn't fallen as much as the polls have shown, but has it dipped a little bit? Yeah, obviously the markets have played a role. It's not going to stay at 52% forever in a polarized nation, but, you know, people see him, like, what is he exactly doing? If he passes the big, beautiful bill, it's going to go up, in my opinion, a couple points, and that's going to be a good thing. So he's got to work on passing that for sure. Did anyone watch Biden's interview? Well, I didn't see his interview, but I heard what Biden said about Kamala. He's like, oh no, you know, I don't think that she could have won. I would have won, which it's really funny that Biden actually still thinks he would have won, which is not worth covering anymore, because we've beat that topic to death, even more than Biden claimed he beat Medicare in the debate he had with Trump. But it's like Biden would not have done better. I mean, we could just get that out of the way. Second of all, Kamala did not. He was right about Kamala. She would not have given them a chance to win. Biden wouldn't have given him a chance either, but Kamala was probably a worse candidate than pre-debate Biden, all things considered. It was back to baseline. Base Cats is his Pride Month canceled this year. Well, haven't heard anything about it. It's been slowing down. The wokeness is not popular. The wokeness is dying. That's a big part of, I think, why Trump won, and the Democrats have been disconnected from that. It's, you know, there's plenty of things that have been at play. But yeah, no, it's it'd be funny. It'd be a funny troll if Trump flew a Canadian flag at the White House for a day, the way that Biden would fly the gay flag. It's as a symbolic thing, but no, it's not gonna happen. It's just a joke, but it would be funny. It would be funny. But yeah, no, it's pretty much over. It's like you have corporations, they change everything to benefit this agenda that is wildly unpopular. And you see what happens. You see a lot of pushback. You see people actually, I guess this is, you know, we talk about the free market. The free market did eventually do its job. It took a lot of time, but it did. Whether we want to say that obviously, I think we need to still have safeguards in place for corporations and censorship and all that sort of thing regarding social media. But Elon Musk, he took over Twitter. There was the market for it. He filled that void and did it. So good for him. But at the end of the day, yeah, I think we still need some safeguards in place. But what I will say is, now that you've taken an institution, there's less of an appetite for it, for sure. Doesn't mean that it's like not a problem, because it is, but it's definitely has set the market in competition. Like the free market bros can take the win on that front, but I still think there's many things that you can do and you should do that would put safeguards in place to prevent sort of censorship. Overturn a well, I think Obergefell is on the verge of getting overturned. I don't think very many people are going to care in general. It's not like Roe v. Wade. Abortion's a big hot button issue. Gay marriage, it's not, it doesn't poll poorly. I'm not saying it does, but it's not going to really be outlawed in like any state besides maybe like Utah and Mississippi. So people that say it's going to be like another Dobbs v. Jackson when they overturn, it's not going to be another Dobbs v. Jackson. It was another Roe v. Wade in the sense that it was a very unconstitutionally ruled case. So we'll see. Would I ever join the Monsieur Z stream? I mean, possibly. I've got a pretty packed schedule, but I wouldn't rule it out. John Waffle H2P. We're at 38 now. We need 12 more super chats, guys, till we hit the goal. But John Waffle says, unfortunately, there will still be a lot of the woke/gay agenda on the West Coast. Oh, absolutely. I mean, Seattle, Portland, much of California, San Francisco of all places. I mean, it's always been a thing there. But yeah, I really think that we just have made strides. It doesn't mean it's over. It doesn't mean the fight's done. But we have made a lot of strides. Sam Madsen for two says, when is a Obergefell overturned? Well, I think you'd have to talk to the Supreme Court about it. I mean, how many times did we hear, when are they going to overturn Roe? Even with the 6-3 court, they finally got to it in 2022. I mean, the thing that kind of spurred it was the whole Texas law. So maybe there's going to be a law in the future that's going to be brought forth or a certain restriction. But I think I think it will happen during Trump's term. I don't know when, but I think during Trump's term you'll see it. So that probably somewhere 2027. That'd be my prediction. It could be sooner, could be after. Who do I support in the India pack? I do not care. I'm sorry. I literally just do not have the time or energy to care about that war. JD Vance put it perfectly. He says, I do not care. It's true. And he's got in-laws that are probably not happy with that statement. I saw a few memes going around that were pretty funny. I'm sure Vance chuckled at him himself, but I can't bring myself to care about that conflict. I hope it gets resolved so we don't have to be involved. We're basically involved in 2 wars already, monetarily. The sooner they're over, the better. We don't need to be getting into others. And hopefully we can find a way to get out of Yemen, because we have no reason to be in Yemen. I mean, now I get why we're there. I mean, like, I get why we would fight back when we're there, but we have no reason to stay in Yemen. So let's see. Guys, like the stream. Let's get to 300 likes. We're at 284. Sam Madsen for 2. And we've hit 40, by the way. We're 10 away. Says, will this court ever overturn assault weapons bans? I don't know. I think they've had a pretty mixed record on guns, if I'm not mistaken. So they could, but I don't know. I haven't analyzed every case they've dealt with on guns to this point. Hope they overturn birthrights. I feel like birthright citizenship might be stretching it, which again, if you actually interpreted the Constitution with its correct intent, that was for freed slaves to become citizens. It had nothing to do with illegal aliens. It had absolutely nothing to do with that. So when you have this judicial activism or diet judicial activism that's entered the minds of a lot of these judges in the judiciary, you're going to get a lot of bad rulings. And ACB was not a good pick, all things considered. Gorsuch, I mean, he's been decent. I think that what's the other one? You have Kavanaugh, for all the just nonsense they put him through, for him to lack a backbone on redistricting and all sorts of things. It's pretty sad. But what do you want me to say about it? Tucson Paleocon for 2 says, thoughts on the iDubbbz H3 beef? I think they're both clowns. iDubbbz, he sold out years ago and he's a coward. That definitely rings true for him. He's sold out. He's a cuck. I mean, have you seen, I don't know how you show your face on the internet after that whole thing. As for H3, he just has increasingly become a liberal clown over the years. It Initially, he was, I guess, opposed to like the SJW stuff back like 2015, 2016. And then he kind of ventured down he sold out. They both sold out. So I don't really care what the beef is about. I know it's something to do with Israel and Palestine has played a role in that beef. I just can't bring myself to care about the internet drama between two clowns. So love seeing that Trump is the most physical conservative. You mean fiscal? Or just are you saying social? I don't know what you're saying there, but people cry about people. I mean, you'll always have people. It'll never be enough for people. Some people, which I mean, to be fair, I mean, there's obviously going to be certain things that I think he could probably be stronger on, but I mean, somebody that can win an election in 2025 or 2024 as of the last election and be solid. I think Trump, whatever, he's not 100% a purist on X issue or Y issue. That's not something that I'm going to be worrying about. What I do care about is immigration and trade and, American nationalism, economic nationalism, that sort of thing. Before Donald Trump was in Republican politics, that was not even anywhere near the Overton window on the Republican side. So he has dramatically changed politics. You talk about the wave of right-wing populism in the world. That's what Donald Trump is. He's not some, pushover conservative. What does it even mean, conservative? What have conservatives conserved? They haven't even conserved the GDP. That's like, they only conserve the GDP. They haven't even conserved that. I mean, growth is not very high. They haven't conserved anything. So I think it's more of like a cultural national conservatism that you need, first of all, before you can have like remedial social conservative policy anyways. And, people will say Trump is not, they won't vote for Trump because he's not pro-life or not pro-gun. They pressured him after a shooting to enact unconstitutional gun measures a couple weeks ago, and he said, no, nothing will change my mind. So the only, I guess you would say, like legislation or anything that he put into effect was the bump stock ban. That's not even in effect anymore. His own judge struck it down. As for abortion, I mean, he overturned Roe v. Wade. Whether people are upset he doesn't want to go further than that at the national level or not is irrelevant to me. The main takeaway is, he handles it well. It's kind of a third rail for Republicans, and still he provides victories for the pro-life movement. Many of these grifters in the pro-life Inc. sphere have just completely decided to ignore that because they'd rather just make an ass out of themselves on social media and talk about how, oh no, we're gonna abstain from the election, and then they'll still celebrate his wins. They're clowns. American Nerd 1776 says thoughts on Fox News judge as U.S. attorney for D.C. Well, Judge Janine, I believe is her name, Janine Pirro. She'll do a great job. I mean, she was good on Fox, and she was been a good attorney for many years prior. So I think it's on brand for a Trump appointee, first of all. Second of all, I think she'd do well. So Trump without shoes is fire. I don't know about that one. Like, is he still 6'3" from back in the day? I mean, probably not. When you're older, your bones do compress a little bit. So maybe he's like 6'1". But I think 5'11" without, that's what I'm without shoes. I'm like 5'11". I think he's a little bit taller than that. A little bit taller. I'm a bit reluctant to call out Pam Bondi. Well, I did a whole stream talking about Bindergate and why it was a really bad look. I mean, Bondi hasn't... I mean, like, when it comes down to the Epstein files, I personally am of the belief they don't exist. But this notion of, we're going to dangle them in front of people's faces, that's not going to play out too well. It's not even a Trump thing. It's a incompetence thing. And then you have Kash Patel saying Epstein actually did kill himself. Maybe there's a reason why he said it, but I just, I don't know who believes that. I don't think a single person believes that, including himself. So we'll see. But I'm like the whole retribution angle, which is not the main reason why I voted for Donald Trump. But, we'll see what happens. At least you got the JFK files. Maybe you'll get the RFK files, the MLK files, etc., which the MLK files were already scheduled to be released, I think, in a couple years. So we'll see if we get them sooner. But you can't promise something. You rickrolled your audience. And then the Republican House account is rickrolling. It's like they're making a mockery. I mean, it's kind of an honest product in a way because that is what happened. But it's like, yeah, this is not the best look. I've never seen a party. Like, I don't think the Democrats hate their own base. That's the thing. The Republican elite, the Republican establishment, I'm not talking about Bondi or Patel, but I'm saying like the House Republican leadership, which has gotten better, but it's a long way to go. Over the years, I've never seen a party that's hated their own base. That's a big part of the reason why they're incompetent is because of that fact. So, yeah, Bondi, she does need to step up. I mean, I'd like to see something in that department. I think she's good when it comes down to immigration, which, is an important issue. As for other stuff, could be a lot better. People harp on Trump's approval rating going down by a few points, but no other politicians more. That is also true. And now we have 43. We need 7 more super chats, guys. We'll hit our goal. I'm not going anywhere till we hit it. We have 10 minutes to hit the goal, by the way, before the goal expires. So you guys better start getting to the super chats now if you guys want me to hit that goal. But John Waffle says, who do you think is the most skilled attorney? I don't know. There's plenty of them. Like, you're talking about like a legal scholar? Because there's plenty of skilled legal scholars. But attorneys, when the justice system is what it is in this current day, does it even matter how good your attorney is past a certain point in some of these cases? But I don't know. It's a very, like, if you're talking about like attorney general, I think Ken Paxton, who possibly could be a senator, Red Whale Politics for 2. So we hit 44. So we have 6 to go. We'll see if we're able to get there. But even just $2 per super chat will help us hit the goal. We have 9 minutes remaining. So if we average 1 super chat every 90 seconds, we should get it. We should get there. But there's plenty of legal scholars that are pretty solid. Are we in trouble in North Carolina and Georgia now? Well, good news is you could lose both of those Senate seats and still be at 52. There is a silver. I'm not saying that should be our end game. I'm not saying concede them, but like, we are in a good position in the midterms, even if it's a bad night for Republicans, just because of the maps and how they really just benefit us more so than they benefit the Democrats at this point. Because they're not winning in Iowa, they're not winning in Ohio, they're not winning in Texas. They think they could beat Paxton. I don't think they can beat Paxton. I think it could be close, as in like within, like a Trump 2020 margin. I don't think they're gonna get it within striking distance. We'll see how the primary goes. I am Battlefield for 2 says thoughts on Scott Bessent. I like Bessent. I think he's probably one of the better economic minds in the admin. There's a lot of initial skepticism because, he worked for a firm that was tied to Soros vaguely like 10 years ago, even though he's been with Trump the past 10 years. But I like Bessent. He's done a good job, and hopefully he keeps doing a good job. I think there's some people that are more erratic in the admin. I think he actually has the most like balance of policy that's not going to like waver the markets too much, but still, get deals done, get things done. Let's see. Gates would be 100. Well, Gates doesn't have a lot of experience. I do think Trump partially just made or put him up for AG to get him out of the House for some reason. I'm not sure why. Micho says Australia loves... Well, I love Australia. We've got a lot... surprising amount of fans from Australia. We see a lot of Canadian super chats, but I feel like for every Canadian, we see an Australian super chatter, which says a lot. Maybe it's because of the hour I'm live. Maybe that's why we have the fan base we have in Australia, because somebody has to watch me. So that's what we always say, do you respect Eastern Standard Time? Well, I respect Australian time. I don't know what time it is there, but Red Whale Politics for two says Cornyn loses. That's a giant blow to the neocons. Yeah, and I mean, we'll see. I mean, Georgia's going to, I mean, you already kind of, you possibly, if you're going to win Georgia, you're going to do it with somebody better than Kemp, which is also an upgrade in a way. But we'll see. A lot of people now saying they're from Australia. 2:30 p.m. Interesting. Well, we're 3 super chats away, guys. We have 5 minutes and 40 seconds till we hit our goal. So if you guys want to help out, any bit helps. Any bit helps. It is the birthday stream after all, so I will be 25 the next time you guys see me. Red Whale Politics for two says, especially when he has a decent amount of influence. Yeah, that's another thing. Because it's not just who he is and how he is. It's the power that he has in the Senate. We hit our goal. Thank you, everybody. 50 out of 50. There we go. We did it with 5 minutes to spare and then some. Walrus Hunter for 5 says, what do you think about the Trump meeting with Carney? Well, I think he mogged him, and that's what matters. It really is. I mean, the same thing with Trudeau. He's able to, there's not like bad blood. He's able to kind of make the guy look like he's like weak in front of him. That's important. That's a big reason why Trudeau was forced out. In fact, Trump was responsible for the Liberals winning, but not in the way these people think. It's because Trudeau was forced out, which is what caused all the NDP to collapse and all this other stuff. But like the Trump meeting was the final straw for Trudeau. And now we get all the super chats when the goal's over. Interesting how that works, but appreciate all the super chats. Patriot345 for 2, Tucson Paleocon for 2, saying, have you been outside the U.S.? Yeah, several times, only to Canada for very short periods of time. Ice Nut for 10 says, I heard talk earlier about Roe v. Wade and how it was a bad decision, but people forget about how Roe later basically sued herself to reverse the decision because the pro-abortion people lied to her. Now that, now they say, oh, on her deathbed, she recanted. I don't know if what's true and what's not. That could be a hoax, essentially. But, I mean, that is technically true. It was not a sound decision. Didn't she end up having the baby anyways? I could be wrong. I am Battlefield for 2 says, can we flip the Michigan Senate seat? We could. I mean, it's you're not favored to, but it's possible. Again, we don't know what the economy is going to be like in 2026. It could be booming for all we know, or it could not be booming, and that would be a problem. American Nerd 1776 says, how different would America be if Nixon won 1960? I did a whole video on this. You can go find it in my alt history playlist, because if I went over everything in that video, it would be like 25 minutes long. Red Whale Politics is kick him out back with the turtle. The turtle's gone, so hopefully you can get a BOGO with Cornyn in the primary, and also find a good replacement for McConnell, and try to find somebody who's not a 1-to-1 McConnell acolyte, because there's a lot of those in Kentucky. So that's the way it is. So anyways, guys, we have 300 likes. We hit our like goal. We hit our super chat goal. I appreciate it. I think we're going to wrap up the stream. It's almost 1 a.m. on the East Coast, and I know that many of you guys are tired, as am I, and we will be finishing. So I appreciate all the super chats. After all, it was the birthday stream. So this will be the end. So like the stream down below, subscribe, hit the bell, follow me on social media, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.